I'm keeping the snapback, guys. I'm keeping the snapback. So you might see some more videos with this in, because I'm actually enjoying wearing it. So, today's video, if you can read the title, says, it is my coming out story. And the reason I've chosen today to upload this, the 22nd of September, and that is because it is exactly 1 year since I first told someone I was interested in guys. So it's been a whole year, because 22nd of September 2016 I first told my friend Greg that I was interested in guys, and I will go into that in more detail in a minute. But I want to start, not in 2016, but in 2015, the summer of 2015, where I was off work because I work term time, so it was very much a lot of free time, had a lot of free time. So I needed something to do in that free time, and I decided to watch a TV show. And the TV show I ended up watching was called The Fosters. The Fosters is a show about a lesbian couple who raises a mix of biological and adopted children. And this show spoke volumes to me. It really hit home one of my big things about being in denial, and that was that because I wanted a family when I was older, it had to go girlfriend, marriage, kids. You know, that was how it had to go. Because if I wanted kids at the end, that was it. And that was a very irrational, thought train, I'm very aware. But you got to understand, when you're in denial, you can rationalise just about anything. You can rationalise just about anything. When I did the gay guys, crushing on gay guys video, I talked about how I was clearly crushing on a guy, but I rationalised it by thinking it was a jealousy thing. No, it was really irrational, but you rationalise a lot of things when you're struggling. So, that happened, but when I watched The Fosters, it kind of unravelled some of that denial, and it helped me begin the steps, I think, towards coming out. And I do really credit this show for that, and it will always have a special place in my heart for that. No, I don't watch it, anymore, I didn't keep up with it, but for a long time, it really was my favourite show and mattered such a lot to me because it really helped me as a person. So, thank you, The Fosters. So, that happened. But moving on from that, we move forward to December 2015. I was on Skype to one of my closest friends. We're just Skyping away. I was sitting on my bed Skyping, as you do, and not thinking much of it, we're just talking about stuff, and somehow the conversation comes round to the future, and, marriage, and what we want from the future, and I took the laptop downstairs, because I was still on Skype, and I needed to get a drink, so I went downstairs, sat down at the breakfast bar, laptop on the breakfast bar, sitting at the chair, having my drink, and we talked about what we wanted from the future, and I don't remember exactly how, but it came round to what I wanted, and I said I wasn't sure, and that was the first time I came close to telling someone that I was interested in guys and very much gay. That was the first time I got close to it, and I didn't really get close to it. For me, even getting that far though was really hard. I was almost in tears, I was really struggling. She was so understanding, and in retrospect she knew, from then she kind of knew, but she didn't want to say anything because obviously I wasn't ready. But we actually fell out a couple of months after that, rather sadly. But we're friends now, it's fine. We're friends now. We're friends now. Hey Jess, we're friends now. So that's the main thing. And she is lovely. And we had a nice catch up a couple of months ago. And we were just, she was so nice about it. So that happened. So moving on from then, we will move on to September 22nd, 2016. Or September 2016, I lied. September 2016, where I am writing a fictionalisation of me and my two best friends' lives. It was a really odd choice. I don't remember how, that was decided, but it was going to be a story told with 3 narrators, me, my best friends Daniel and Greg. So, I finished the first couple of cycles of chapters, and I sent it to them to read, and in between now and then, just as a caveat, kind of, that in between the December and the September, I was on Tinder, I was on Grindr, and in that time I had some experiences, no physical ones, just, if you know what Grindr's like, you know what I mean. It's just a couple of experiences that, confirmed to me that I was hella gay. So, that was for me, though, not for them to know. So I gave them the cycle of chapters, and Greg then started talking to me on Facebook. We were talking on Facebook, and he said he had 2 questions about it. Question 1 was to do with an event that I said happened in the fictionalisation that didn't happen in real life, and he wanted to check it didn't happen in real life, and that was that I said in the story that something happened at university, but nothing actually happened, and he wanted to check that nothing had happened, and I hadn't, been neglecting to tell them that for a year and a half. But that's what that first point was. And then point 2, he brought up the fact that when we're all together, I didn't talk about sex. They would talk about, sex, who they're attracted to, and I just didn't. I wasn't part of that conversation. I just didn't involve myself. And he asked me why I didn't talk about it. And I said to him, quite simply, that I didn't know who I was attracted to, which was a massive lie. But he was really understanding. He was really we don't care. Me and Daniel will stand by you no matter what. And we love you very much. And just generally, why do you think that you're not sure? Do you want to experience it? And I was like, yeah, that will do it. If I experience it, maybe I'll know. And he was like, okay, that's really good, we'll support you. He was great, shout out to Greg, you were great that day. And it was really, I didn't have to say it. He knew what I meant. He knew I was gay. He knew it. They knew it. They've been talking about it, apparently, behind my back for weeks, probably months, because I kept watching TV shows, and when we would talk about them, I would always favour the gay characters. And, Greg was like, this is it, he's going to tell us. We'll just have to wait for him till he's ready. And in the end, he actually asked me, which I thought was very kind of him, just to save me that trouble. But he asked me, and I told him. So that happened, and he told Daniel, and, that's kind of how my friends just kind of found out, through a ripple effect. But we'll move on to telling my family now, which I was absolutely terrified to do. I was convinced my mum was going to be so against it, and it was really hard for me to tell her, but I told my sister first. So I started seeing this guy, and I remember the date, it was the 18th of October, we were on our first date, and I had lied and said I was at Greg and Daniel's, and then I went out to his on the Sunday, and I said I was staying over Greg's, because I stayed over his house on the second date, which I know is really sleazy, but nothing happened, just to be clear, it was nothing like that. But second date, came and went. Third date, this was the first time he came to where I lived, because usually I went to where he lived. He lived about 20 minutes away, so I went to him. But this time he came to me. And so it was a bit harder, apparently, for some reason, to tell them I was out with friends. So it kind of was known I went on a date, and I didn't tell my mum or my sister anything about it. They did ask. I ran upstairs and hid in my room away from it. My sister followed me, and she asked me, oh, how was the day? What's their name? And I just turned around and said my ex-boyfriend's name. And I almost cried. I was, choking up. I was like, and so she hugged me. She gave me a good hug. And then she went outside and told my mum to leave me alone, basically. Which, thank you, dear sister, for that. So we did that. And then on Sunday, the 30th of October, so 2 days after I told my sister, my mum and me were the only ones in the house, so I was eating my Sunday dinner by myself at the dining room table, and my mum comes through for some reason, and she asks me about the day, and she's like, are you ever going to tell me about it? And I was like, no, I'm not going to tell you. And she said, are you going to see them again? I was just like, yeah, I am. And then she asked me, is it a girl? And that's kind of where, this was the do or die moment, what do I do? I just said, no, it's not a girl. And she was like, is it a boy? And I was like, yes. And then she just kind of walked out, and it was kind of awkward. So I just kind of finished my dinner, went upstairs to my room, had a good cry, and then my mum came upstairs because she called my sister and spoke to her about it. And my mum was like, we're crying, I was crying, lots of hugs were had. And then, my mum struggled with it for quite a bit, and I think it's fair to say that parents do struggle with it in a different way, because whilst you have to accept yourself and you have to kind of go on this journey to accept yourself and understand you, they have to then understand you in a different way now. And I think it's not easy for parents. I imagine it's not easy, especially if they don't see it coming, which I think most people did for me. So my mum was just turning a blind eye, apparently. But she is better now. She has said some insensitive things in her time about, like, what she wanted from my life and stuff, but she's got better. She told pretty much my whole family. She has told everyone. She's very open about it. She's quite terrible, actually. She tells pretty much everyone she meets. Like, if it comes up in conversation, she's like, yeah, my son's gay. She just brings it up all the time. So that's fab. You know, it's great now that my mum's very supportive. She also told her boyfriend for me, because I was terrified to tell him. I was absolutely petrified. I thought he was going to throw me out. But he didn't, clearly, because I still live here. But I thought that was going to be it. So I was terrified. But the worst reaction I think I've had is possibly my nan, who oddly has met my ex-boyfriend, and my nan and my granddad met my ex-boyfriend. But since we broke up, she has said some things that have been massively, like... She said something about how she didn't quite believe that I was gay, and I was really offended, and I was really kind of like, excuse me? My mum told her off there and then. Apparently my granddad told her off on the way home, and my granddad was really unimpressed. And that's saying something, because my granddad is, like, so easygoing. He is, like, 80-something. He is so easygoing, so laid back. And he said... Something he said to me a long time ago, actually, when my mum's cousin came out as a lesbian, was that at his age, you can't afford to lose people. So, like, the older you get, you can't afford to push people away for silly reasons. And I think that's very, like, it resonates with me, because I think it's such a good piece of advice in that as you get older, if people mean something to you, you have to keep them there, because you shouldn't push them away over silly things, because you don't know how long you have left. Obviously, my granddad is like 60 years older than me, but I think it's a really good life lesson that I've taken from him. So, thank you, Granddad. But, like, my nan is getting better. I hope that if I get another boyfriend in the near future, she will be okay with it. One hopes. But, kind of a fun coming out story when I told my friend Hannah. We were at the corner shop on Daniel's birthday, and I was buying a pizza, and she was buying alcohol. I was talking about I kept going to where my ex-boyfriend used to live, and she was like, why are you going there so much? And I just kind of said, it's because I'm visiting my boyfriend. And she does this thing, I can't do it. I can't recreate it, but it's like an aww face, but she kind of does it more like, aww. And it's the sweetest thing. She is such a motherly person. She, like, gave me a hug. She was very nice. She was like, what's he like? What's his name? She was just very chatty about it. It was very sweet of her. And thank you, Hannah. You are very lovely to me. But that's my coming out story. It's been a long year. So I had my first boyfriend, and I loved him very much. And it was my first breakup, and it was horrendous. And I've had counselling, and it's been a really tough year. But honestly, I think it's been a really good year, because I have got to be the true me for the first time, like, ever, and I've accepted it. And I think it's really hard, even if you aren't in a dangerous situation, or you feel under threat, or you feel like something bad's going to happen, it's still really hard to actually accept yourself. And to tell someone that is to place a lot of trust in them at the beginning, because the first person you tell, like, if you've only told one person and you're not really ready to tell anyone else, you have to place a lot of trust in them. And I think it's a really big deal still, sadly, to come out. It shouldn't be, because the world should be moving on from what a big deal it is, but it doesn't. So it's still a really big deal to tell someone that you are not the same as everyone else. And I think it is really hard, and I'm so thankful that my family has been so supportive. So, like, they have been really there for me for the most part, and my friends have been amazing. They've been great, and it's just been one hell of a year. And I think my advice to anyone who's coming out would be, if you are safe, take small steps. You don't have to rush coming out. It's not like you have to tell the world. You can start with one person that you know will be fine with it. It's taking the first steps, and you don't have to take big steps. You can take tiny steps, but tiny steps will get you there in the end. rather than not walking at all. So that's my coming out story. I hope you enjoyed it in some way. I hope you enjoyed how my experience was, and kind of, it's okay to be scared. It's another bit of advice I'd give. It's okay to be scared about it. It's okay not to be so certain in yourself still. If you know you're attracted to guys and you're a guy, you can just be attracted to guys. You don't need to put a label on it. Because for ages I didn't put a label on it. I really wasn't sure. But the label gay actually ends up fitting me quite well. So you don't have to rush. Take your time. You'll be fine. Thank you for watching. Ciao.